Most of us from time to time have required the services of an agency to provide an escort for that big do. Yes, for years now, car rental companies have been sending the great British public out in what's become known as Ford's Old Faithful. Since 1968, the Escort has been one of the most popular cars around, but not for too much longer. By the year 2000, the past will become a blur, because for Ford, the future is focus.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I be the first to introduce to you the newest addition to the Ford range, the Ford Focus.
Angling to upset the VW golf cart, this ultra-modern looking vehicle, which takes many of its styling cues from its big brothers Car, Puma and Cougar, is ready to make Escort Man re-evaluate what he wants from a car. Or is it?
When we started off on the Focus program, we researched with our customers and our potential customers what they wanted out of a car. And they clearly told us they wanted a car that was a new, fresh look, that stood out in the crowd, that was distinctive and appealing to them. And the Ford Focus design is that, it's all of that. It's not a Me Too design, it's very much a fresh new look for this class of car.
Probably the most striking aspect of the new Focus is, of course, its looks. It's a car that you either love or hate. There's very little middle ground, and personally, I like it. It blows the staid Astra and Golf out of the water with its style, which Ford call New Edge design. It has a flowing form with crisp edges, sharp intersections and these taut lines, and of course these distinctive new headlights at the front. It's the rear of the car though that has caused most discussion, with many people feeling there's something not quite right. The flowing lines don't quite flow. The Focus is longer and wider than the Escort, and that's meant so much more room inside the cabin. Even rear seat passengers won't feel as cramped. On the downside though is perhaps the boot, which, whilst adequate, you'd think would quickly fill up whilst loading for a long summer holiday. But what about the dear old Escort, much loved by the great British public? Well, the Escort has a history that's rich and varied. A car that's been around for 30 years, seen man land on the moon, disco fever, and Brazil win the World Cup only twice. My first recollection of the Escort is in the days of Z-cars on television, and that was the typical panda car driven at the time. But the Escort has been at the top of the bestseller lists right through its life. It's been a car for the people of the world, with over 4.5 million sold in Britain and 20 million sold worldwide. We just seem to love it. It's a touch mysterious why so much, because it's never been a particularly great car. In its time, the Escort has had tremendous success in motorsport and rallying in particular. And of course, there have been the usual hot versions, the Mexico, the RS Turbo, and the very potent Escort Cosworth. Well, if you still want to rush out and buy an Escort, you can, because production continues until 2000. After that, though, it's farewell.
Escort is an outstanding success. It was the best-selling car in August. Since 1974, Escort has been either the best-selling or the second best-selling car in Britain. And the Escort lineup will underpin the Ford Focus lineup. We will have only two series, both available in Estate and 5-door hatchback, with two engines, 1.6 16-valve 90 PS petrol and 1.8 turbo diesel 90 PS.
This really is a great car to drive, and everyone who's driven it will tell you much the same. Now, Ford claim that the Focus has class-leading ride, steering, stability, handling and refinement, and I, for one, I'm not going to argue with that. We've already seen how good the Puma and Cougar are, and the Focus just seems to continue that line and push the boundaries even further. The Focus comes with a wide range of engines and body styles. Engines are 1.4, 1.6, 1.8 and 2-litre petrol, plus a new 1.8-litre Endura direct injection turbo diesel. Probably the most fun will be had in the 130 brake horsepower 2-litre 16-valve engine, which at the moment is the fastest and most powerful, 125 miles per hour and 0 to 60 in just over 9 seconds. Body styles, well, take your pick. 3-door, 5-door, 4-door and an estate, all with that distinctive new edge styling. Trim styles are varied too, CL, Z-Tech, LX and the top of the range gear versions. So most importantly, you want to know how the new Focus drives. Is it a match for the benchmark Golf or the superb handling Astra? Well, yes, it definitely is. This model is the 1.6-litre Z-Tech SE engine, which produces 100 brake horsepower. 0 to 60 comes round in about 11.5 seconds onto a top speed of 115 miles per hour. Acceleration is swift, flicking fairly easily through the gearbox. There's a little notchiness going into third, and you can rev it easily round to about 6,000 RPM. It's a really refined and smooth engine.
The model that you would recommend to your friend, we believe, is the 1.6 Z-Tech 5-door. I think we will sell at least 1 out of 2 Focus in that model.
The interior is excellent. It's got superb trim and quality plastic and finishes. Plus, most of what you see here is actually recyclable, so it's great for the environment. The controls are nicely laid out and easily at hand. This triangular binnacle here houses the radio and ventilation controls, plus some rather nifty storage areas and a nice ashtray.
Basically, we started with 3 design themes. One was what we call tube, which basically was a tube that ran across the inside of the vehicle. And just had a very simple shape running across the inside of the car. The second theme was something that was called wave, and basically had a shape that kind of waved like a sort of wave across the front of the car, inside the car. And the T-bar basically had this strong triangular shape that in effect runs from the centre console out towards into the door trim, giving a very strong dramatic design theme, allowing also to take the dashboard away from the driver and away from the passenger, again optimising and maximising the interior spaciousness.
When we did our early customer research, one message that came across very loud and clear from our whole range of customers was they wanted a car that was spacious and roomy and wasn't compromised in any way over the accommodation that it offers. Focus is obviously primarily a family car, and it needs to offer the spaciousness that families need. How we set about this was first very innovative for us. We looked at the overall package dimensions of typical cars in this class, and we decided we needed to take a fresh approach. We raised the roof of the car to provide improved headroom. We sit the occupants a little bit higher in the car to provide improved visibility, and we also sit them a little bit more upright. But we also stretched the wheelbase by something like 90 millimetres compared with the Ford Escort, in order to provide interior spaciousness that's unrivaled in this class. And in fact, we believe that we've got interior spaciousness that you wouldn't normally find in a car of this class, but in fact in a car that's 1 class larger than the Focus.
What we've tried to do is to maximise the interior space in the vehicle by what we loosely termed shrink wrapping the interior onto the vehicle. So by using clever design themes and also taking the parts as close to the sheet metal, the interior of the car's structure, by taking the parts back, we've tried to maximise the interior space and make the car feel and seem as big as possible and also achieve a best-in-class package.
There are many aspects of the car that make it stand out from its competitors. I think one of the most important aspects is the rear suspension. For the first time we're offering a multi-link, fully independent rear suspension that offers superior levels of driving dynamics and refinement and comfort, which we haven't seen in this class of car before.
The driving dynamics are quite spectacular because of the attention to detail. But what we're most proud of is the fact that we've taken it to a higher plane of driving dynamics. Typically in the industry, when people talk about a vehicle and dynamics, they talk about things like ride, handling, and steering. All of those are superb on the Ford Focus, but we've added to that a harmony with all of the switch gear, the gear change, the clutch, such that the comfort and the refinement of those elements come together with the driving experience to really provide a sensational drive.
Safety is obviously a major concern to us all, and Ford certainly haven't skimped here.
The Focus has a full range of safety features, as you'd expect for a car that is going to be used predominantly by families. We have, of course, lap and diagonal seat belts in all seating positions, in all 5 seating positions, including the rear passenger centre position. We also have passenger and driver side airbags as standard fitments on the Focus. And we have side airbags available. For the first time, a head and chest bag that provides superior protection in the event of a side impact. But of course the Focus is about safe design, and the whole vehicle has been designed for very, very high levels of active safety, that is controllability and the ability to avoid an accident. And the body structure has been designed such that it provides a very, very strong rigid passenger cell around the occupants of the car, but also crushable front and rear and now side impact zones that absorb the energy of an accident and provide maximum protection against occupant injury.
Ford claim lots of class-leading capabilities for the Focus, some of which remain to be tested. However, it does have superb fuel economy. On the combined calculation, the 1.4 will do 43 to the gallon, the 1.6 41, and the new diesel an amazing 56 miles to the gallon.
Obviously the environment is extremely important to our customers and to ourselves. And we've, for example, for exhaust emissions, we've provided a vehicle that meets all the current and future emissions legislation within Europe. To give you an example, it would take 60 Focuses today to produce the same amount of exhaust emissions as one Ford Escort did in 1977. So in the space of something like 20 years, we've reduced our pollution into the atmosphere by a factor of 60. The overall Focus vehicle is about 85% recyclable. That is, we can use 85% by weight of the materials in the Focus, use them again. And we also pay attention to the amount of time it takes to remove the material to be recycled, because that adds to the economics of the recycling process. And for example, 50% of the plastics in the Focus can be removed within 30 minutes for recycling purposes, and all parts are marked with the material composition and their recycling instructions. But in addition to that, we've used recyclates in the design and the manufacture of the Ford Focus. For example, we use chopped up blue jeans, which we turn into a fibrous material that then we manufacture into sound absorption material that we put in the various parts of the Focus body. Also, we use plastic bottle tops, the more typical soft drinks bottle tops, and we recycle those and use them to manufacture things like heater casings and battery boxes.
Personally, I'd rather be in Essex in the rain anyway. I'm in Dunton at Ford's Small and Medium Vehicle Centre, and this is the real birthplace of Focus.
As far as Focus is concerned, Dunton has been responsible for the interior design development, for trim components and so on, all the powertrain design and development, and also safety development for interior restraints, head impact development and so on. And within global test operations, we have been the prime centre for the durability verification of the Focus model.
This is the mileage accumulation facility, clocking up the kind of miles any rep would be absolutely terrified by. It's all aimed at punishing the catalyzer and all the emissions components. And the kind of miles, well, we're talking 50,000 miles in about 4 months. And the really interesting thing is the drivers. They're all robots. And here is our driver. It runs on a 24-hour cycle and it's completely repeatable. That means it can do exactly the same thing time and time again, which is very important if you're going to be analysing and comparing the results one vehicle to another. It doesn't have a name, but I'm going to call it George. Kind of looks like a George. Okay, take it away.
Okay, Richard.
And my mate George has control over the throttle, the gear change and the clutch to simulate real-life driving situations. In fact, he can even simulate really good or really bad drivers. With the ability to control the temperature between -40 and +90 degrees and to control humidity from 5 to 95%, this room is all about simulating pretty much every climatic condition imaginable. The car is then set up on the jig next to me and set shaking, rattling and rolling to see what happens to the different materials under the different conditions and whether they result in any irritating squeaks and rattles. I know that in my case, I'm starting to rattle. Apparently, you can get these things in yellow as well. And we've got the same degree of climatic control in this room, but in here it's set to a warm and sunny day with a slight breeze, which is very pleasant. But in here things become just a little more focused, if you'll excuse the pun. The table to my left is actually a mast table, a multi-axis shaker table. It can move through all 6 planes and simulate real road scenarios. And on it, the various controls can be operated remotely. So, we can move the glove box and we can move the ashtray. The idea being to assess their sound for quality. Does it sound good under different climatic conditions? That was a good one. I don't like that one. That was quality. Not sure about that. This is an 8-channel fixed body test rig. Basically hell on earth for suspension. It simulates every angle of force impacted on the suspension, including the torque of the brakes. And it can inflict 150,000 miles worth of abuse in 5 days. This is not the kind of thing you want to get your tie caught in.
Dunton Engineering Centre has been here now for 30 years, and it was Ford's first attempt at consolidating its engineering activities within one site. And a group of engineers from various sites throughout Britain were consolidated at Dunton. It was opened in 1967. Over the last 30 years, we've seen a continual advance in technology aimed at basically improving quality, reducing cost, and most importantly, meeting our environmental and safety standards that are required from both our customers and regulatory requirements. This has impacted Focus in an extent where we now have introduced technologies which are basically aimed at vastly reducing the time it takes to develop vehicles for production. For example, we've seen technology today where we can simulate a lifetime's usage of 150,000 miles on our vehicle simulators and suspension simulators within 5 days within the lab. And this is just part of an integral design cycle which sees us move from computer modelling. Again, on Focus, we have used more CAE computer models than any other prior Ford model. For example, on crash, durability, calibration, the program starts by using computers to simulate how designs work, the customer requirements that they have, and so on. These computer models are then turned into hardware, which we've seen today that has been tested on the facilities.
So somebody driving the Focus, what would they notice, if anything, about the way that the car drives and handles and steers?
They should notice that there is no stress in driving, that there is no two-staging. In other words, you don't move the front of the car and then the rear follows. Everything is flowing and progressive and highly predictable. and yet still fun. In other words, when you move the steering wheel, the car moves. There's no perceptible delay. The course here is really just showing lots of different types of mixed bends. Some bends are hairpin, some tighten during the turn, and really we want to illustrate that the car is very predictable, very safe, but very much fun to drive on this sort of circuit.
Well, I think if you look at the car, one of the most exciting features is the design. It's the latest evolution of our New Edge philosophy, and I think it really shows the promise of what's underneath the skin. If you talk about what is underneath the skin, one of the exciting things is the new chassis. The new chassis has interactive vehicle dynamics. It also has a new independent rear wheel suspension. And then I would say the other thing that the car has that's very special is a lot of room, outstanding people package. When you talk about what is the character of the Ford brand, the style, the driving dynamics, and the outstanding people package are where we want to concentrate, and I think we've done an excellent job of portraying that in the new Focus.
So, the runes seem to be good for the new Focus. It's had almost unanimous rave reviews from those who've driven it. What matters most, though, is how it sells, and that surely will be good. Ford say they expect sales of 100,000 units of the Focus in 1999. Will its radical looks stand the test of time when in, say, a couple of years the Focus is a regular sight on our roads? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. It's a good quality car from Ford, following on from the Puma and the Cougar. They've done it again. Save up, see the bank manager, sell the granny. The car with the blue oval badge is a car to be seen in.